subject of the fury of a powerful typhoon cyclone Lawin, and it is hitting the country by now. As usual, we have made the preparations to mitigate damages, save lives, and we have deployed all available measures to lessen, at least to put into action what would really be a life-saving measures for my fellow men. There are three leading agencies there. The DSWD, which is really the social workers, and the mitigating guys, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. They're all there on the ground today, and we can only pray that it will not really result in so many damage, and hopefully, God forbid, no lives lost. I cannot give you the, I think it's going on now, and I'm just waiting for a final report. Just before coming down, I read something that it's coming in, so I suppose that I cannot have the facts to tell you now, but maybe later in the evening or the earliest tomorrow. I'm here to answer your questions and hopefully to satisfy everybody. Who will ask the first question?
The first question, Mr. President, is from Xinhua News Agency.
Yes, ma'am. You may stand up and come here.
Thank you, President. I'm from Xinhua News Agency. My first question is, how is your first day in Beijing? And what did you do? And where did you go? What people, who did you meet? And well, what's your first expression of Beijing?
Here?
Yeah.
In Beijing?
Yeah.
None. I was just met by the protocol officers and some high government officials, but there were neither was. I never met with them. I think that's protocol. I will go to them tomorrow, and one after the other, and that will keep me busy. And coming over here, we're given copies of the wide-ranging issues of the subject of the bilateral agreements. So it's just the broader outlines of what areas we might be able to challenge each other, and the hard facts or whatever are there to be discussed will develop tomorrow as we go along the bilateral talks. No, it was just purely socials, handshakes and all. No such thing about the issues that we're going to take up.
So today you just did some private tour in Beijing.
Yes, again?
Did you do some private tour in Beijing? Which places did you go?
Tour?
Yeah.
I've done, I slept.
Oh,
I just came from Brunei, and maybe I needed some additional rest. We averaged something like for the last 3 days, 3 hours, 4 hours. I was able to catch up with my backlog. Okay, so I slept, woke up very late in the morning today.
So,
but I'm preparing for tomorrow's engagement.
Have you tried some Chinese food? Chinese food.
My grandfather is a Chinese. We always eat Chinese food almost every day in the house.
The next question, Mr. President, is from China Radio International.
Magandang gabi po, Ginoong Pangulo. Ito po si Jade ng China Radio International Filipino Service. Chinese po ako, pero marunong po akong mag-Filipino. Nagkalungkot po
You come from a spy zone?
yung kasi mayroon pong China Radio International, mayroon pong kaming yung sa Peking University, mayroon pong kaming yung Philippine Studies Program, nag-graduate.
Okay.
So, yung nagkalungkot po, yung nabanggit niyo yung balita hinggil sa yung bagyong Lawin. Pero yung sa tingin ko po, maraming beses na may ganitong karanasan ang mga Pinoy. Yung sa naniniwala po akong matagumpayan po kayo yung ng kalamidad na ito. Mabuhay po ang Pilipinas po.
Thank you.
At yung tanong, yung kasi pwede po bang isang maikling Okay, yeah, English, okay.
English, yeah.
So, opo, yung you have initiated the and you are implementing the independent foreign policy. So, in your how would you enhance the China-Philippines relationship based on this foreign policy?
Well, historically, we were never, let me be very, we've always been allied with the West. And in terms of entertainment, education, and all, it was all Western. As a matter of fact, I am more articulate in talking in English than in my own dialect. Sometimes I have to group the words. There is one language which is Tagalog, which is being thought to be they say it's the national dialect. But we have not perfected anything. And that is why even in the movies and even the histories, those were the things that were not properly put in place in their proper perspective. And that is why even in the survey, the Filipinos would place their trust more with the Americans than the Chinese. But during the Cold War, China was portrayed as the bad guy. And all of these years, what we have read in our books, in school, were all propaganda produced by the West. And I cannot blame the Filipinos for being so indebted, because everything indebted to the West, because even the reasons for war was placed there as a war against the Philippines, against the enemies during the Second World War. We were hit hard. In the Battle of Manila, I think it was 200,000 people killed. The carpet bombings there were not really made by the Japanese. It was made by the Americans to retake the city. So there's no question that in the propaganda as we grew up, we only read the propaganda of the West, but there was Cold War at the time, and so we could hardly get any news from China and Russia. Those are the realities of life. And so our foreign policies, up to now, up to this point, we're geared towards to favor a sector in the world ideology and the contending ideologies of the world. Now that I am president, by the grace of God, I read a lot, I'm a lawyer, and I study geopolitics and all, and also I am a graduate of the Foreign Service, so I get to know how to balance this contending. At this age, I have now the proper perspective to judge whether the foreign policy is good for us or not. I said few months ago, that I will charter a new course, changing direction of the foreign policy, and be with friends with everybody, and with no enemies to contend with, no enemies to hurt, no friends to serve. Unfortunately, this started with the war against drugs. And I'll give you the hard numbers. It's 4 million all in all. And they are scattered all over the country. There are about 6,000 policemen into it. Then municipal mayors and the barangay captains who take care of the basic government unit, the barangay chairman, then the municipal mayor, city mayors, governors, regional heads, then the national. What is really very alarming and is that my country has already been contaminated with narco-politics. And there is a senator in my country who was elected, and she was the poster girl of the Human Rights Commission. And the thing that, why this reason, why I am known to you guys, are interested to hear about me, is because while I was explaining the quandary of my country, and the sheer number, and the danger that would impose on the next generation. And it will be a failed state just like in Latin America and in Mexico. In that border there between Texas and Mexico, there are about 60,000 deaths. But I never heard of the State Department of Obama and the EU complain about it. They were focusing on me because that issue, which is really correct, was an issue against me when I was mayor. And they kept on hammering on me, criticizing me. But when I was president, that is something else. Because now I represent a country. And if you reprimand me in the international scene, all the networks here, your networks, and you show it to your own country, it will put to shame my country. And you have something to answer. Oh, you come from this place, could you explain to us? But all the networks, they were only interested to highlight my statement when I said, internationally, publicly, if you destroy my country, I will kill you. And I was addressing myself to all the drug syndicates and the drug pushers and all. And I said, if you destroy the youth of the land, deprive us of the resources of tomorrow, I will kill you. And they kept on hammering that. He said, that president has been heard saying that he would kill people because they did not understand the statement, because they were dumb-headed. You know, China, America, Russia can perfectly say it, and it's very legitimate and valid. If you kill my country, there's the word, even if, it's conditional. I don't know what happened to these guys with their grammar. I mean, we are not that sophisticated and our English acquired culture. But they should go to if. So if you do not destroy my country, then I will not kill you. But they kept on hammering on the issues of killing alone, because they like it and threatening me with going to the international criminal court. And I said, that was enough. And I said, no. Since nobody was listening to me, I gave them the word, bullshit, all of you. Then they suddenly heard, oh, there's somebody bullshitting us. Who is this guy? Now they know that it's me. Now they are hearing. What's wrong in saying you kill all the criminals? The police, when I say, yeah, you're ordering the police, look, the soldiers of my country, they go to a 4-year course, the Philippine Military Academy. The police, there's another school, the Philippine National Police Academy. They study for 4 years before they become full-fledged law enforcement. They all know that when you say you kill them, it's either just like in the Old West. It is not our words. It is the words of the American cowboy in the movies. Billy the Kid, wanted, dead or alive. And if you do that in my country, it is not all right. But if they do it in their own country, the funniest thing is, it's even at the movies. Without the caveat, warning, this is just movies. They say, go for them, dead or alive. And when I say I'm going to protect my country because I am the president and I have every right, that is self-preservation. If that is not understood by EU and America, I'm sorry for them. It is really a very sad day. When even when you invented the language, you pass it on to some other people. You gave so many cliches about dead or alive. And when I do it, I said, capture him when dead or alive. The policemen and the military knew that there has to be some sort of a resistance. And that resistance must be violent. And therefore, if it is a violent resistance, that is the time that they can use force. If that resistance endangers the life of the police and the military, if they believe that they are already in the process of losing their lives, and that's the only time that they can kill. No need to repeat it. They have been there for 4 years, and that has been imbued in their minds. And that is the same theory for the FBIs and the police and everybody. But you know, people judge best when they condemn. They always make you the worst of you. And to think that we learned this when I was small, there was this cowboy chasing a bad guy. Then you see posters in the movies, dead or alive, $500. We do not even do that. I always say to the police and the military who will be assigned in my city when I was mayor, give me a clean city. It's up to this guy to interpret what is cleaning the city. This police, this military, the guys in front of you are the police and the military of my place. They have been to school. They were taught the rudiments of how to kill and how not to kill. It's their job. They are not ignorant of that. I said they stayed there in the academy for 4 years. What else am I supposed to do when I give the orders? Do I have to lecture again? The same lectures given to them for 4 years? So what prompted me to change foreign policy is that not almost getting a road deal with the West. And EU signed a manifesto, and they told me it was prepared by the lawyers of the. I mean, I said that the lawyers warned me that I can be prosecuted, and then I realized that what is happening now in EU and everything is because they have stupid lawyers. They cannot even agree to let out the migrants. They were so benevolent at first. Then now it's winter time, some of the guys who came in late or drove out back to the sea, not accepted in their boundary. So they will die there and rot in the cold. Give me a sensible answer. I'm willing to resign here. I would not even have to go to Manila. America and Britain invaded Iraq with all the hullabaloo and pronouncement that had weapons of mass destruction. After killing so much of the soldiers there, the Republican guards of Saddam, and killed Saddam in the process, they found out, with all its might and technology and human intelligence, that there was no weapons of mass destruction. If somebody could explain it to me that it was right, stand there in front of me right now. I'm willing to listen. And if you do it right, to convince everybody that after all it was right to invade Iraq, even without the weapons of mass destruction, undermining Libya, wanting to destroy Assad, putting in turmoil Egypt. Now tell me, if it is a bright idea of the West, tell me now, justify it that it is correct. I will listen and I will resign as President of the Republic of the Philippines. Was there an explanation? Was there a digest? You know, this guy are really convoluted idiots. When you say you want to prosecute me, for what? It is not crime in my country, especially a president to warn, and even any president for that matter. Or tell me, do not do it because I will kill you. Do not enter my boundaries because if you hurt the people there, I will go to war. I just don't know what's happening with the idiots in the other side. So my foreign policy goes to where there are people who are sane. Why should I mix my country with the people who have said a very convoluted and almost insane theories of how to run civilization? Tell me, any one of you, tell me that it was right to invade Iraq, even without the mass. That was the only thing that kept them going. But there was these weapons of mass destruction. How many died? How many children died in the bombing of Afghanistan? How many died in the invasion of Vietnam only to lose it after several decades and to burn the families there? How many times has this to be repeated? Look at Aleppo, when they could have just stopped it, but because earlier they were supplying the arms of the rebels against Syria. But the Chinese government and Russia supported Assad. So you had the longest war there. So from where was this ISIS? When was it born? It was born out of the desperation of the radicals and rebels of Libya and Syria. That is the beginning of ISIS. America imported terrorism in their own territories, not by human beings. There in America itself, American citizens, almost all of them from Arab ancestry, because the citizens of that country, the American citizens were Arab ancestry, really felt what was being done to their land. And who was the first to enter the land and took off with the fat of the land? Oil. British, American, French, Italian. And after so many troubles, they partitioned the Middle East according to tribes, not of kingdoms. And that is why you have, until now, fighting amongst themselves. And ISIS became the rallying point. Who imported violence? America. To their lands. They were not the migrants that went there to create trouble. They were the lone wolves. They were the Arabs who went there when they were young, had education there, but saw what was history in the past. My country, it was occupied by Spain for 400 years. Then it was occupied by the Americans for 50 years. And you think that because we are now, that was a century ago, and you should see the pile of bodies. You should see the big holes where the Moro Muslims of Mindanao were dumped there. And they say, oh, it's 100 years, Duterte. No, it could not be 100 years. It still is now. Why? Because of your convoluted ideas of how to run this civilization. So why don't I go to China? What kept us from China was not our own making. We were almost a vassal state of America. Our foreign policy dovetailed the policy of the United States and of the West. And if they said they hated Russia, we're supposed to be, amen, we also hated China. And if they say, I will go to war in Vietnam, for no reason at all, eventually to lose, and we will just say, yes, we will send also our soldiers there. It's kind of stupid, do you think? So now that we are, all has been said and done, what gives? Me? Killer, drug, war? I'll give you a computation. It's 4 billion now. But that is the 4 million that's growing up. It's about 700,000. At the end of my term, it will breach the 4 million mark. So we stick with the 2-year survey done before by General Santiago, a military man who headed the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. He said there are already 3 million addicts. Okay. The mining industry is all over putting holes there in my country. Degrade the environment and all. How much does it give my country in taxes? 70 billion US dollars. There are 3 million Filipinos. At one hit per day, times 3 million, that is 6,000 per person a month. If you multiply it by the 3 million, that's 18 billion a month. If you multiply it by 12, that's 216 billion a year. Money which the father of a family would have to buy rice, medicine, schools. And the crime rate has gone drastically down. It's less than 49%. We have girls raped 1 year old, 2 years old. People dying because they were perceived to be devils in front of the addicts. Rape and all, and even the crime volume puts the crime volume before a president puts me to shame. There are killings, well, because some choose really to fight the government. And I said, I will have no mercy for you guys. You fight the authorities, and you die, it's good for you. You ask for it. I told you before, it will destroy my country. And yet you go in and persist in doing it. And so I said, well, if you fight, kill them, especially if your life is in danger. I do not want, verily, I don't want to see military men and policemen die. It should be the bad boys who should do the dying, not my soldiers and my police. So, we're talking of what is right and what is wrong in this world. We're talking of what is moral, what is not. I said, I challenge any one of you to come here. We can debate until midnight. Just tell me what was really good when they started to destroy the Middle East. And until now, they bombed the hospitals, the patients with it dying, and those who are already in the mortuary are also dying again, and even prisoners and all. And they go about moralizing the righteousness of the world. I'm sorry. I had to say this. You say, why are you veering towards China? Why should not I not veer to China? China is good. It has not invaded a piece of my country all this generation. All the idea is to wander and do business, barter trade, even before the arrival of the Spaniards. A lot of Chinese descended Filipinos, almost everyone of them. We have not seen any atrocities committed of late. The wars of Genghis Khan and Kublai Khan, that's another thing. That is really for the history books. But the events of the recent times, there's a book which you have to read when we are on the 4th grade. It's The Modern Times and the Living Past. Modern times and we have to live by the past to learn our lessons in life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, members of the international press, Mr. President.
Any question? Yes,
We still have
given time. Very good until 6 o'clock in the morning. Go ahead.
hold on. We have a question from China.
Can we have it one at a time?
China Daily.
Thank you, Mr. President. With China Daily, we would like to ask a question about trade and cooperation. Do you have any expectations about your meetings with Chinese leaders tomorrow? And what do you expect from the outcomes, like trade, infrastructure, agricultural technologies, like fruits and food exports? And do you have any expectations about further political and economic messages to be delivered through the meetings? Thank you.
Yes, frankly, actually, what to say, I'm not in the kind of really to I hate to admit it, but there are so many things that we need. We will be asking for the help of China. I do not know if they will, your government will give it to us. I am here on a state visit to pay my respects to the great people of China and to the Chinese government. But along the way, if they would ask me other things which I need that they can help, and I would rattle off also the things, simple ones, not impositions, not financial burdens. We would appreciate if we are given loans, soft loans. We would rather borrow and pay it in a very liberal schedule.
We have a question from NHK.
Mr. President,
Yes.
On South China Sea issue, how are you going to raise this issue during the meeting with President Xi tomorrow? And are you going to request President Xi to respect the international law, especially the result of arbitration? And what will be the
Yes.
bottom line?
Let me tell you this. Before I came, there were preliminary talks between the foreign secretary of my country and the foreign minister of China. We sorted out an agenda that is broad enough to accommodate all. But I, as a friend, and I would say this too, if he mentions it in passing, and I will just say, Mr. President, I came here for a visit. I do not want to make hard impositions. I do not want to ask you to do it now, because there will be a time when we shall be doing it. But I have to be courteous, and I have to wait for your president to mention it in passing for me to respond. It is in the broader outlines of talks that you have agreed. But as a matter of courtesy and the Oriental way, you'll always wait, because I am a visitor. I cannot destroy the goodwill by just blurting out something. For after all, it is also, let us be clear on this. The arbitral awards give us the right. Okay? China has the historical right. And they're insisting, and you are insisting. And the Chinese government is insisting that it is right. So, in this, do we argue or we just talk? That if there is argue, then I would say, let us put it to some other day. There will come a time we will have to talk about it. And the arbitral judgment is in a piece of paper with 4 corners. And maybe by that time I would say, we have to talk now. And the issues will not go out of what is being stated. We are limited to this. But that is not the time to do it. That is the time to prepare for the goodwill and then maybe the agenda of how to go about doing it. But unfortunately, or fortunately, it was not discussed by us. So it would not be in keeping with courtesy and goodwill if I'll be the one to open it. Because after all, I did not come here to agree to talk about the China Sea. And you say it can take a backseat? Of course, it has to take a backseat. The question again is, there will be a time that you have to talk about? Of course, there will be a time. Because, you know, there are also countries around that all the same issue. But it is not the time to quarrel. I have the highest respect for your president and your premier. I have the highest love for my Chinese people. We will be on a different side one day. I know, because of that article. But again, I said, let us enjoy the camaraderie and by newfound predilection to choose people who understand human civilization. Did I answer the question? Thank you.
Our last question is from CNN International.
Mr. President, thank you so much for taking our question. Matt Rivers with CNN. Sir, with the understanding that on this particular trip you will not be talking in substantive terms in terms of negotiating over the South China Sea, when that day inevitably comes, would there be room for some sort of bargain? For instance, if China allowed Filipino fishermen back into the area, would you ever allow China to build another artificial island in that area? Or is that a red line for you? And just a quick follow-up, if I may. The U.S. presidential election just a few weeks away. What are your thoughts on the candidates, and do you have a preference for which candidate should win? Thank you very much for your time.
In the matter of the fishing rights, I leave it to China to decide. We'll be talking about it. And if we will mention it in passing, the arbitral judgment, and I would say, okay, if that is what you want, if there are things really which have to be talked of preliminarily, we can do it now. We can set the broad lines. I said, but there will be no hard impositions. There will be no asking of concessions and anything. And the third is with the elections, I don't know which way it will go. If I were just an ordinary citizen of the Republic of the Philippines, I'd gladly give you my choice. Problems I have in my burden, the Republic of the Philippines, which you are not allowed by protocol and by law to side with anybody. Of course, if you whisper to me to which side I belong, I'll tell you, and you'd be surprised.
You sure you don't want to tell us now?
Because one, it's not good, it's not allowed, and I am sure that they'd get a lot of flack for that.
Thank you so much, members of the International Press. Good evening.